G'day, and welcome to Say It With Guitars. I'm your host, Pete Cornelius. Each episode, I'll be digging deep and getting to hang with some of Australia's finest guitar pickers, songwriters, producers, collectors, and makers. I look forward to bringing you these fun conversations, and I hope you enjoy Say It With Guitars.
Hey there, friends. Thanks for joining us for another episode on the pod. The stories just keep on coming. That's right. Today's guest, Dave Dobson, not to be confused with New Zealand's Dave Dobson. Dave's a great luthier, guitar tech, amp builder, guitar player, all-round dude. And it's always fun to hang out at his place and see what's going down. Hope you enjoy our chat today. And we do talk about a gig that he and a lady, Jackie, are involved in, called Riverbend Blues. And we do talk about it in the show, but if you do want to make it to the gig, it's on the 14th of September and it's in St Helens, Tasmania. I advise you to get your ticket if you can. Today, I'm also releasing a new single. It's called Sick of This Town. So you can check it out in all the usual places. I've also put up a lyric video on YouTube as well, folks, so you can check it out there and sing along. I hope you enjoy it. Let us know what you think. And I really can't wait to share the rest of the record with you guys. When it's ready to go, you'll know about it, that's for sure. Anyway, peace out. Before we crack into today's show, I'd like to shout out to our Season 3 sponsors, Tarrant Guitars and Top Shelf Guitars. The custom workshop of award-winning luthier Billy Tarrant on the northwest coast of Tasmania uses locally and internationally sourced solid tone woods to create a wide range of custom guitars, including acoustic, electric, lap steel guitars and specialty instruments, showcasing his passion for superior tone and structural integrity. Tassie's one-stop custom workshop for custom-made guitars, all guitar repairs and services. Visit tarrantguitars.net.au. Top Shelf Instruments specialise in used and vintage guitars, pedals and amps, shipping worldwide from Hobart, Tasmania. I love helping players land exceptional instruments for manageable dollars, and guitars from Japan hold a special place in their hearts. New old guitars hit the website almost daily, so head on over to the website for this week's weird and wonderful offerings, topshelfinstruments.com.au. All right, on with the conversation.
One beer, 2 beers to pay to get in, and then it's, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, it's beer's what, $9 or $10.
Absolutely.
It's only if you're charging 15 or 20. It's not much. People just seem to be scared to pay it.
Yeah, it's like a big risk all of a sudden.
It's different than a soloist can get in somewhere, can't they? But for a band, you really got to have a door fee. Yep. Well, it's the way it's heading.
Yeah, and I think small things are going to continue to exist because overheads are low, and just the experience of seeing a band that close, I think is such a wonderful thing. Like I think these big blues style festivals where you're like 100 metres from the stage, and you're watching a screen, the audio's full on, and
I mean it's good in its own right, but it's nothing like seeing someone close up.
It's a good buzz. I think the experience of that is being in amongst thousands of people, the energy that brings. Whereas I think watching a band, like I remember going to watch Danny Healy, a quartet down at this little bar in Hobart, the Henry Jones Art Bar down on the waterfront. Upright piano, and nothing's amplified. Everything's like between me and you all way. So I'm sitting there listening to an upright bass or a clarinet or a saxophone. And it's just, that to me is like, that's fantastic. Just a great saxophonist. And very in the moment. He doesn't play much out of his head. It's all very...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very...
Yeah, when we went through Europe, we went to a classical night of just classical musicians in an old, castle.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And it was just beautiful. You know, it was just sort of you could hear a pin drop.
Wow.
And they're just great musicians. That was awesome.
Like a small orchestra or quite a big?
Quite a small orchestra. Probably 7 or 8 of them, I think, from memory.
Yeah.
With the double bass and all that sort of stuff, violins and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, it was cool.
Especially Newcastle, that's pretty special.
Yeah, oh yeah, it was amazing. Yeah.
Anyway, all right, better do an intro and we'll get into it. I'd like to welcome to our podcast today, Say It With Guitars, Dave Dobson. Thanks for joining us, Dave.
No worries, Pete.
How's it going today?
Pretty good, yeah.
Pretty good. What's on the menu today? You've got a lot of amps lingering around.
I've been fixing up a PV Classic 50, actually, great old amps.
Oh, yeah.
This morning.
Yeah.
And I've got a hi-fi amp to do. I've got a few guitars. Always something to do.
Always a thing of beauty or two in here. I always enjoy walking into the workshop and seeing what's on the bench and different, projects in different stages.
Yeah, I think I never meant to be a collector, but it's turned out that I'm sort of, perhaps I just don't sell things.
Yeah, I think it's more to the point. Yeah, they're hard to let go. I know that Andrew Gregg was saying he's got this catch and release program where one thing comes in, another thing goes out.
Yeah,
it's a hard thing to.
I'm not opposite to that.
Yeah. So what? I know that you've started as a guitar player, and you probably spend more time now, not only doing luthier work like fixing people's instruments, but also doing setups and doing now amp work and pedal repairs and stuff like that. So maybe give us a little background how you got into this current thing you're into.
Yeah, well, I was a fitter and turner, and then I did a mechanics course as well. And I used to I was used to pulling things apart and seeing how things work. And then I had a back injury when I was 40, actually, and the surgeon said you can't do that heavy. I was doing heavy industry work. Yeah. So I'd always fixed my own guitars and, done repairs for mates and stuff. So I thought I'd give it a shot.
Yep.
So there wasn't many people here doing it then, really. The shops would, do a little bit. The amp side of it, I basically started reading lots of books when I was recovering from my back surgery. So, I purchased a few books and got, it's like if you're passionate about it, you learn.
Yep.
You learn stuff. So I was passionate about amps, old amps and stuff.
Yep.
More started basically just doing valve amps, really. Now I do some solid state stuff.
Yep.
And I don't really get into the Class D new stuff. That's a bit harder.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff seems to be designed not really to be repaired. It's all just like a circuit board that everything's mounted to. And
exactly. Sometimes you can't even get a parts list off the distributors for some stuff. It's just it's basically throw away.
Yeah.
That's the way it is,
Yeah. So how did you like the journey from not knowing much about amps to getting inside to knowing what all the components do and I guess there's a love for tone. Like I guess that's kind of what drives you towards that valve amp.
I think so. I mean, I always used valve amps, and you're just wondering how you got the sound. So once it's really an old-fashioned technology, So they don't really teach it at schools now, I don't think. So you've got to read up on it and change a few things and see what it does. They're all basically like Marshalls were copied off Fenders and the original Tweed Fenders. If you look at the circuits, pretty much the same.
Yep.
So, but you see how things changed and everything's makes a difference,
Yep.
Every little change.
Yep.
So it was a lot. Yeah, I got learning it. Yeah, it takes time. Still learning, of course.
Yeah.
Got shocked a few times, which is not much fun.
No.
I had one guy once called in. He had an old amp where the plate connections are on the top of the valve, like these old things, and I just pointed at something in the amp and it grabbed me and spun it off into the workshop, the amp, he was, "Oh, I'm so sorry," I said, and he was, "Oh, you all right?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm right." So that was a bit embarrassing.
Wow. So the amp just went flying, the whole thing?
Yeah,
just
it
like,
grabbed hold of me,
yeah.
and when I jumped, the amp went flying off the bench it was on. I said, "Oh, sorry, I've damaged your amp." And, "No, are you all right?" he said. So anyway.
Oh, learning the hard way.
Yeah, that was, yeah. I've heard stories of, I think it was John Sir was working on an old Marshall, had a funny noise in it, and he leant over and he had a necklace on.
Oh, right.
And it touched a component in his thing and blew this necklace apart. I thought that was quite an interesting story. So I think all those repair guys that have stories like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And do you have a favourite platform to build an amp off or to work on? Like, have you got? I know you've made a few amps too. I've played through one at one of the events. Actually, we'll probably talk about how you've been promoting events lately as well.
Okay.
So you've been making amps as well. Have you got a favourite kind of platform, or you kind of just like each circuit for its own character?
Yeah, each circuit. If you look at something like a Princeton Reverb, which you've played, they've got a unique tone at a volume that's really useful nowadays.
Yep.
And like old Marshalls, your JCM 800 or 2203 and 2204, that was just a great design because they put a master volume in it that worked quite good. It was back in the 70s and 80s. There wasn't many options available, So he was playing in pubs. It was always too loud. You know, your PA only, as you know, only had vocals going through it, or So the amps were. No one used small amps back then. You had all the Australian manufacturers like M&R, Leonard, Moody. Mm-hmm. A lot of the amps were big, Strauss, but they had a unique tone, Yeah. Yeah, they were fat sort of thing. Yeah.
What gave them their character, do you think? Just the components that were made here were quite different parts or values?
The transformers and that were made here, which affected the tone.
Yeah.
They were sort of probably copies of everything else, but they had a unique tone.
Mm.
Some of them had high. The M&Rs ran a very high plate voltage. They had a unique tone.
Yeah, right. Is there any artists or recordings you can name or think of that have like a distinctive sound of an Australian amp? Because there's probably like people who listen to this overseas.
People would know if you look if you see early AC/DC footage, the bass amp was quite often an old M&R or something.
Yeah, right.
Lobby Lloyd back in the day used a Strauss. What was it? Big Strauss, great big high wattage amp. Uh-huh. So they must have recorded those things.
So with Billy Thorpe?
With Billy Thorpe.
I'd say,
Billy Thorpe used Strauss, so I'm sure they would have recorded.
Yeah, right.
But I know the guy out of Midnight Oil was talking about it, how he thought those amps had a certain tone that he's always been searching for ever since.
Interesting. Yeah, right. You don't see many still kicking. I guess most just get pushed to the back of sheds and under houses and people buy a smaller, modern, lighter, reliable amps.
I think like Golden Tone were made in Melbourne. I think they're still quite popular, some blues sort of guys.
Yep.
People probably should look at them more, really, because they were good amps,
Yeah.
The speakers were probably a bit of a weak link, but they had a useful sound. So.
Yeah. I know you've lent me a little Maton amp. I've been having fun with that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. I haven't forgotten.
You're going to bring it back?
Yeah, it's a boomerang. I think they've definitely got character. They've got some sort of extra something that Fenders and Marshalls and Voxes don't quite have.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they've got a certain warmth to them. That little Maton, a guy borrowed that to go to Sydney and record with it. Right. And I think he mic'd the back of it as well. The engineer mic'd the back and the front. Have you tried that or not really?
It's something I've always wanted to do. I did it when I was going through an audio studies in college. you experimented with mics in the front and the back, and you reverse the polarity
phase,
of the rear. And I've heard, I think Steve Albini does it, the guy who recorded Nirvana.
Yeah.
I think he's got some pretty wild techniques. But yeah, people do it, so yeah, I should give it a try on the little mate.
Yeah.
Make it sound bigger than it is.
Well, hang on to it. It's in a good place.
I love it. It's got a nice tremolo on it too. That's one thing I think that small valve amps have always got an interesting tremolo.
Yeah, they have, haven't they? It's probably a bit noisy, that one, but they have. Even the Princeton tremolos are good too, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they work good.
Yeah.
Do you find that people are using tremolo more in music nowadays?
I think they are. It's one of those old effects that I guess has, it's got a nostalgic sound to it. Like when you hear a tremolo, it almost makes I think of Link Ray or someone like Dwayne Eddy, that 50s kind of Guitar Hero sound.
Yeah.
But then I also think of guys like Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys or more modern players that use it. Something about it just...
Yeah, I know some of the blues guys. Like I was listening to Sue Foley. Have you heard of her?
Yeah.
And she uses tremolo a lot, and it sounds really good in a three-piece band, I think. It just adds that wobble to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, a bit of motion. I don't necessarily like it over a certain style of soloing. Like I think some soloing is really nice, like a melodic, slow, chordal style. But as soon as you start playing a little fast or a little bit...
you turn it off.
Yeah, turn it off. Yeah, put it back on for the chorus or whatever. Yeah. Great. And how about, let's maybe chat about some of the amps you've made. What was your first amp you ever sort of put together from scratch? And
Well, basically, it wasn't till COVID started and I decided to build an amp. So I did it on my kitchen bench, actually.
Yeah.
Which was the Princeton Reverb that you've done. So it's just a copy amp, obviously. I've made a super PA Marshall amplifier for a guy.
Yep.
And the other one you used, Riverbend, last time was really based off a Fender Tweed Twin, but it's got 4 6V6 valves in it, and it's got 2 output transformers because they're Australian-made A&R transformers I had laying around. I thought, I'll put it together and see how it works, and it worked out great.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of an experiment, that one.
Yeah. I think that'd be really interesting. Like if I was going to experiment with making anything, I'd kind of want to try different things. I don't know anything about it, so I don't have enough background in terms of knowledge, but I think that's where things get interesting, where you've taken a circuit and you're experimenting with output tubes or different transformers.
Yeah, different. Yeah, exactly. And even the parts, what brand of capacitors you use, everything's just a recipe, really.
Yeah.
The circuits are fairly simple, but an amp can sound quite different. And it always has done. Even though if you line up 2 or 3 Marshall, say JCM 800s, they all sounded different. Yeah. Some of them would sound great, Yeah. Some of them not so great, or just cut your head off. Yeah. It's a bit bright. Yeah. But which was the thing back in those days.
Yeah, well, I suppose if you had a muddy kind of Les Paul to brighten up, a bright Marshall's just probably what you need.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like the guitars make a huge difference if you're playing a Telecaster on the bridge pickup, the tone wide open with a JCM 800, especially if you was into JBL speakers or something. Yeah, you would. They'd hear you, but cut everyone's pin their ears to the back wall.
Yeah, you're definitely competing with the drummer's cymbals by that stage.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. And how about guitars, Dave? I know you've been making and repairing guitars for a long time, much longer than the amplifiers.
Yeah.
And I've played a few of your custom-made instruments, and you've been pretty experimental there as well in terms of making your own pickups, different like series parallel things like that.
Yeah, I have. I've found that when I first started the business, I probably made more guitars because I had more time, but I've found that repairs are where I'm at, really. So now I only build something if someone requests it. So, and ideally, something's a little bit different. I mean, anyone can put a Strat or a Telia sort of. So if someone wants something you can't buy, then okay, all right, I'll have a go at that then.
Yep.
So I know I did a Telecaster sort of based guitar for a guy, a good mate of mine that was, but he wanted a Gibson scale length, so he couldn't really buy a neck to suit. It was a green metal flake finish, so it's just something you couldn't buy really.
Yep.
I ended up with metal flake all over my shoes and everywhere when I painted.
It just went
everywhere.
Yeah.
So that was a cool thing to do. And they had a Gibson style bridge on it and stuff, I think, from memory.
Yep.
So it was something you couldn't buy.
And did they have Filtertrons in it from memory?
No, that one didn't. I did do one with Filtertrons. They're a different pickup, aren't they?
Yeah, I really like them.
Yeah.
I've kind of got this halfway point.
Yes.
Between single, Strat or Telly and Les Paul or something.
Is it the Magnetron one? Is that TV Jones? They're not actually one that Billy Gibbons used, I think, for a while. They sound pretty cool.
Yeah, maybe even a Powertron or a Magnetron.
Powertron, one of those, yeah.
One of those more higher output ones.
Yeah. So
he gets a great tone.
Yes.
Gibbons?
He does. Well, it doesn't matter what he plugs into, does it?
Yeah. Yeah. So have you made anything that hasn't left the shop? Like, are you making things that, feed your own creativity, or are you kind of like...
Yeah, I have. Yes, I have done. I mean, obviously those couple of amps I haven't sold. I've made some fuzz pedals actually lately, which is only just a fuzz face, but just played around with the circuit a bit just for something to do. And I used one that I made last weekend at the gig, and the bass player thought it sounded good, so it must have been all right. And the sound engineer said, "Oh, that sounds fat," so it worked out all right. And
great.
Wasn't too noisy and didn't pick up a radio station. So
yeah, that's one thing I have heard, that they can be quite just like an aerial for a
pick up
radio.
an AM radio station when you turn the volume down.
Yeah.
Quite an effect through a big PA.
It would be quite cool if you could just
if you could monitor it.
Yeah, if you could somehow control it. Cool. Yeah, fuzz. It's quite a cool circuit. I've been playing, not myself with an iron, but I have been given a few and bought a few fuzz pedals over the years, and definitely I think fuzz face. Oh, even some of the tone bender circuits, they're pretty cool. They got a really nice interaction, I think, between guitar and amp. Yes,
and they work well with volume control on your guitar, don't they? A lot of them.
Yeah.
So you can get lots of sounds. A lot of guys back in the day probably just used a fuzz pedal and a wah. There wasn't much about, was there?
Yeah. Well, you get a great clean tone. That's one thing I think fuzz pedals give, which people may or may not know about, is that, a fuzz pedal on with your volume on like 7 or 5 or 6, is beautiful, chimey.
Yeah. There's a Mark Ford used to use a fuzz pedal a lot. He get great sounds.
Yeah.
And Gwyn Ashton, who I know, he's always used a lot of fuzz.
Yep.
And I've done a fair bit of work for Gwyn when he's travelled here.
Yeah.
And he gets great sounds out of fuzzes and octave pedal, everything.
Yeah.
They're really cool with his effects.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it takes time, all that stuff, to really know what a pedal does and how to incorporate it within a song, and what amp and what guitar it's going to work well with. And
well, you've obviously sorted that out, because last time at Riverbend Blues, it sounded amazing with all the reverbs and delays and that Neil Young song you did, was it? Neil Young cover. That was.
We did a cover of Dead Man off that.
Yeah, that's right.
Film.
Yeah, that was
Jim
awesome.
Jarmusch film. Yeah, it's one of those things where I don't want to be staring at the ground. I want to be like engaging with the audience. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to watch, well, it really depends on the guitar player, but I don't want to watch a guitar player just like trying to get a billion sounds and not really knowing one of them.
Yeah.
So it's a real mix and blend between being engaging and almost ignoring the pedals, like
Exactly. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
yeah, but also going, all right, cool, let's have a funky sound for this song, and then let's try and yeah.
And you've never went to guitar modelers or anything, have you? Anything like that?
No, it seems like I like the idea of it, like to be able to jump on a plane with a tiny little pedal board and have everything at your control.
Yeah.
But I don't think the style of music I play or my set list, like I don't have, I like flexibility. Like some people have a sound for a song and that's what they do.
Yeah.
Whereas I go, today I feel like putting this pedal on.
Yes, yeah.
For this song.
Yeah, sort of being more of an artist with it. And it's a feel thing, isn't it?
It's a total feel thing. And I think if I had a modeler of sorts, I'd be kind of stuck into a regime or some sort of set program. And I like being loose with that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. We recently went to the Teddy Swims concert.
Right.
And all the guys were playing through, well, I couldn't see any amps on the stage.
Yep.
And it was great band, really good. But I don't know if it was just me. I just thought there's something about the sound through the big line array systems when they'd switched to a dirty patch. It's almost like it seemed a bit clean still. I don't know I don't know if that was because of that. Fantastic band, and obviously it's convenient, but whereas if you go and see Aerosmith or someone, it's just everything's on the edge, you know.
Yeah.
It's just it's part of the sound, I think, is the amps feeding back and and all that sort of stuff. So.
And just that interaction you get from a guitar being next to a loud thing.
Yes.
They're going to resonate. They're going to feed back. They're going to have that extra playability.
Well, yeah, and pretty much all the guitar players played loud, haven't they? When you read about all the Rory Gallagher, Jeff Beck, all those guys, Billy Gibbons back in the day, they're all quite loud. So they're obviously getting that interaction between the amp and the guitar is what they're aiming for.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's an interesting concept. I know if I was a young person starting out now on guitar, I'd probably think about all that stuff differently. Like you probably think about your modelers and you think about maybe in-ear monitors and
sure.
Just different ways that you can still make music. Like I think if you started that way, you wouldn't know any different.
Exactly. No, that's right. And obviously, I came a long way. Not that I've been in looked into them really, but they're a thing everyone's used. And
I've definitely come a long way from those early, cashew shaped.
Yeah,
pods.
the little pods. Oh, yeah.
You know, they were high tech for their day, but I tell you what, I reckon they sound pretty. Well, I haven't never played one, but I imagine they'd sound pretty.
No, I've never.
Clunky compared to a nice new Helix or a.
Yes, no doubt.
Or
the fractal ones.
Fractals, yeah. It's a funny. I'd love to experiment, especially in the studio. I think that'd be a pretty handy tool to just be able to dial in something so instantly.
Yeah. I suppose you've got to get into it though, because if you're wasting a lot of time to try and find that sound, sort of you're wasting time. You could be playing, I suppose.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't think I'm ever going to invest in anything, but I'd like to play it one day just to sort of get an idea.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Yeah, for
where
sure.
it's at.
Yeah.
And how about as a guitar player, Dave? Like you mentioned, you were was it a fitter and turner?
Yeah.
As a young'un.
Yep.
You were playing guitar as well during those early years?
Yeah, I started playing probably when I was 13 or 14, I think, but just dabbled in it, I suppose. I think I was 19, the first band I got into. And we used to. Yeah, it was always fun. It's different back then. You had pretty much every football club would have a band on their home game night, and all the hotels and stuff. So bands had plenty of work then. It was sort of a mateship thing, which it still is, isn't it? Band's like a team. It's a bit like a football team, really. Yeah. Because you just become mates and you just get around and so it was great. So I started playing then. I've always played on and off. Interesting now, the bass player I'm playing with in the Swamp Hours, I played with 30-something years ago in a band called Don't Come Monday, which there's a band called Don't Come Monday down the coast, isn't there?
Yeah.
So we had a band called Don't Come Monday. Judy Ford was a DJ here, was a singer, and we played a lot back then because it was quite busy times. And so it's been great to get back with Michael, the bass player. So we've really enjoyed that. He went away and worked away on cruise ships and stuff. And I hadn't seen him or heard of him for 30 years, and he came back here with his mum and to look after his mum. And so it's been great. So I've always played, I suppose.
And what sort of material, were you guys covering current hits or anything
back in the day, sort of current hits,
right?
From Choir Boys, a bit of Led Zeppelin, a bit of everything.
So still fairly guitar-driven.
Guitar-driven stuff, yeah. I was a big UFO fan, actually. You heard of UFO?
UFO.
Michael Schenker was a guitarist in UFO.
Right.
They were a great band. I probably didn't cover many of their songs, but a lot of that English bands like Bad Company, Cream, all that stuff I liked. Lynyrd Skynyrd I liked.
Right.
I had every album up to the Plane Crash. So I love that band. Yeah. So all that stuff. Yeah. I still listen to it.
I had some Skynyrd on this morning driving in, actually.
Oh, wow.
I think what's it called? It's like Second
Helping.
Second Helping. Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet Home Alabama on it. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that song about, is it, hang on, I'll bring it up. Otherwise I'll be murmuring on here. It's something Sings the Blues. The Ballad of Curtis Lowe.
Yeah, that's a great song.
It's fantastic. Yeah, and these sort of two guitars interweaving with each other, and
they were a great band.
Piano,
yep,
so good.
The way they put their three guitars together was just extraordinary.
Absolutely.
Great band.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Gary Rossington died last year. He was the last sort of one from the original band, really. So. Yep. So that's a bit sad.
It was a tragedy, wasn't it? That. The band.
Incredible, that plane crash.
Yeah.
A lot of those bands are really good, and they just grew up and just got in a shed somewhere and just played. You know, they were just practiced and put the work in.
Yeah.
So then, I remember the Who got them for a support gig, and I think Townsend was on the side of the stage and he said, "Oh, they're really good, aren't they?" So once he heard, they was on the same record label, I think.
Right.
So no, all those bands, Pete, I liked.
Yeah.
I suppose all the Australian pub rock scene. You had the Angels and Rose Tattoo and all those bands. They'd tour here then in those days.
Yep.
And even when the Silverdome first opened, we had, I remember playing with Jimmy Barnes, support to Jimmy Barnes at the Silverdome, and then you had Tina Turner, Van Halen, Georgia Satellites, Bryan Adams, all those bands came to Silverdome.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a bit of a shame now. It's not too hard for them to come to a venue that size, I think. So hopefully we can get back to that.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting time in terms of, venues, festivals, and just being in a band. I think it's definitely different to what it was when I first started, and that's really in the scope of things not that long ago.
No.
Maybe let's introduce the other thing that we're planning on talking about was how you're promoting some gigs around town. I guess there's a few probably reasons that I think that you're probably doing that, investing time and money and energy into putting these things on. But maybe what's your insight as to why you thought, let's put a few gigs on? Yeah,
well, Jackie, who I do it with, was just saying how there wasn't much for available for people during more a daytime event for older people. but we're not meaning to just aim it at older people, but because we run it from 1 o'clock till 6, it's sort of people can still travel to it. Then even if they're from the northwest coast, they can still drive home afterwards. So there wasn't much happening, so we just thought we'd give it a go. The first year we had Mojo Webb, didn't we? Came over from, and Pete's played at every one, of course. First pick, so we just, okay, Pete, were you available on such a date? Yeah, right, okay, well, we're doing it then. So we had Mojo Webb, and at that time, to get him over from Brisbane, there was a bit of cost involved, and we had to get a car for him to go to Longley. Remember to set up a gig at Longley?
Yep.
And the hire car, I think, a quote was $800 for a day or something, because it was when they sold all their cars or whatever. So a guy that helps us out, he decided to drive, and so we worked around it. And that one was limited numbers because of COVID, but it worked well. So we've just done it ever since. Had 3 of those now.
Yeah.
So it's working good. We would like to get probably some younger people to go as well.
Yep.
And there is some, but
Yep.
we'll work on it. Perhaps the St Helens one might be better for that.
Yeah, I definitely look forward to the one in St Helens. Like, I think the concept is great. Like the idea of a daytime, not only friendly to a certain age group, but I think like opening up to families as well.
Yeah.
Like, the venue in St Helens is probably a bit more family orientated, like in terms of the facility. Like it sort of feels like people can.
Yeah, it looks great when we went up there. It looks really nice.
So and I think especially I know that my age group and demographic, a lot of us have young kids, and we all love to see music, but you know most bands are playing 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, yeah.
In a loud environment that you're inclined to like, you know, buy beers or you know, make sure that the bar kind of can make some money. So so it's nice to actually have an event that's not driven upon like buying alcohol.
yes,
you know,
and the food's available, so you can just chill out and have a nice day. It's been, hasn't it?
Yeah. You know? So it sort of encourages focus on the talent, on the music.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe get together with some friends and things like that, and sort of have that
and
communal feel. Yeah,
that's right. And four bands. You know, you can see 4 bands in the one day. So I think that's nice.
Yeah, it's a great concept,
and it's been working well. So, but we really just did it to try and give bands somewhere to play. We still feel that original bands haven't got many places to play, so we're probably going to look at that in the future, see if we can set something up.
Yep. And you've sort of adapted it a bit as well. I know there was a show, there's a few sort of what was it called? The one we did in that
Riverbend Sessions,
Yeah, Riverbend Sessions.
Yeah, that was great in that church. It sounded great, didn't it?
It was a great old building.
You played and Marcus Starrick played.
That's right. Yep.
And that was great. It was a little bit hard to. Some people wanted to have a glass of wine, so you really can't really do that in a church. So, so we've had a couple at Riverside Golf Club. Claire Ann Taylor was a great gig, and that night it was a really rough night, and we look out there was lightning outside and thunder and lightning just before she played and even while she played. So that had a great atmosphere.
Yeah, cool.
And she's so awesome too.
She's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and her guitar player Jed's been on the podcast.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's a great guy. I remember when he was young playing here, and he just had the talent then.
Yeah,
you know,
he's definitely got a nice touch.
Oh, for sure.
Instrument.
Yeah.
It's funny. I remember getting a message from Jed because he's on the road at the moment with a guy called Ben Salter playing shows in Europe and in Ireland, and I think he's going to America. And
good on him.
But I'll get the odd text here and there that it's funny. You go, are you that Jed guy that's on that podcast with Pete?
All right.
So people are listening. It's great.
Oh, that's cool.
People are listening.
Yeah, that's good.
It's always one of those things you just do, and hopefully people listen. But yeah, it's nice to hear.
Yeah, no, exactly.
People
No,
tuning in.
I didn't realise he was there. So that's
and
really good.
you've got another event coming up too, don't you, with Justo Thomas? I noticed.
Yes.
Is that the same kind of session idea?
Yeah, that's a session. So for the Riverbend sessions, we just have two acts.
Yeah.
And it's a nighttime event. So yeah, we've got Justin coming up. So looking forward to that. I haven't seen him play yet, but
There's a lot of energy.
A lot of energy, yeah. That looks from the clips I've watched. So we thought, yeah, we'll bring him up.
Great.
And also we've got Colin Hill playing. Colin lives in Phuket in Thailand, and he was here in the 70s. He was brought up at Georgetown, and he played at I think 4 Basin concerts. He's a very good guitarist, great guy, and he's always played. Mm-hmm. And he was coming back here because of his mum every year, and he'd bring a guitar back each year and get me to fix it up. And I said, while you're back here, we should get you to do a gig. Because a lot of people remember Colin. Uh-huh. He played in a Queen tribute band, went round the world doing that.
Right, so he was the Brian May in the band.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. So we're looking forward to him playing. We've got Jeff Robson's going to play bass. Used to play with the Shifters and bang the drum. And Mark Fairhurst will be on drums, who played with old 55. So, so we've given them a song list to learn. So, so I'm looking forward to seeing Colin play. He is always a great player, even when he was young, of course.
Yeah.
And he went away. So it'd be nice to see him get back here. And I'm sure he'll attract a crowd on his own. People want to see him.
Hasn't played here for decades.
Exactly. Yeah. You should come, Pete, if you're not busy.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Come along.
For sure. Who are some of your favourite players, Dave? Guitar players. Some of your influences or people that you...
Well, like I said, I liked all the Leonard Skinner guys. Yep. Alan Collins. That's the reason I got a Firebird, a Gibson Firebird, I think, because he used to play a Gibson Firebird early on. Gary Moore, Michael Schenker, as I said.
Yep.
All the British guys. Peter Green, I think's fantastic. Freddie King, I just thought he was it. I think, to me, Freddie, all the Kings are great, aren't they? Yeah. But Freddie could sing and play, and instrumentals are fantastic. So I love all those guys. Yeah. But I suppose I haven't always been that much into the blues guitarists, more the rock sort of guys.
Yep.
And, even just bands like Rose Tattoo and stuff, it might seem simple, but to do it properly,
I think
those guys could
Pete
do
Wells playing slide guitar over that heavy rock.
Yeah,
that
and
was a sound to its own.
Yeah, and Rob Riley, when he played with him, he was a great player.
Yep.
I saw him once here at the Mowbray Hotel with a 3-piece, and now that was loud.
Yes,
but it was awesome. Yeah, really, all those guys. Ian Moss, of course.
Oh, Mossy, yeah.
Mossy's a great player. There's a lot of Australian guys.
Yeah, there's some great Aussie players. I just had Dave Leslie on the show.
Oh, yes, he's fantastic.
And talking to Dave, and some of the stories he's got, fantastic.
Well, and when he played with Tour de Van Halen, it would have been a story every 10 minutes, I would say.
He mentioned that, and he's still got a guitar that Eddie gave him. That's just going to be like the guitar that gets passed down.
Yes.
Yeah, but he reckons he played it to bits for a long time, and now it's just gone, under the bed. Yeah.
Under the bed, yeah. It might have died, I know, yeah. It's funny, yeah. I think James Taylor said that a lot of people think the guitars get better as they get older, but I think James Taylor thought they wear out, and he had the opposite thoughts, which is interesting. His acoustic guitars, so I don't know.
Yeah, right. That's an interesting concept. I always figure that they would sound better. It's hard to actually A and B them because, they just slowly age.
Yeah, you'll get an L Series Strat or something, and it'll just have a sound, and you think, where's that come from? Yeah. Is it the age, or did it sound good when it was new?
Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of that 70s music, it was played on new instruments, so
that's right.
It sounded good, didn't it?
Yep. Yeah, but there's more than just the guitar and the amp. Like there's the way that it was mic'd up, it was the preamp it was running through, it was the desk it was going through, or whether it was on tape.
Yeah.
There's so many factors, like the room itself.
Well, the biggest thing's to player's hands, though, isn't it?
Really is.
Really. Yeah. If you look at Gary Moore and Jeff Beck, I mean, had that touch on the instrument. Yeah. He could play a simple song, and the touch was just fantastic.
Yeah, so delicate.
And Billy Gibbons, I mean, have you tried those strings that he uses? Have you, Pete?
What are they, like eights?
Eights to 38 or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not even sure I could breathe and I reckon a string would break and I just look at it.
You wonder how he keeps them in tune. It sounds perfectly in tune.
Yeah, I suppose it works for, whatever works for someone, that's it. Like everyone finds their own little niche, their own approach to.
Yes, yeah.
I think Buddy Guy does the same. He uses tiny little strings.
Does he? Okay. Wow.
I don't know. I like a bit of resistance myself.
Yeah. Yes. No, I can understand that.
A bit heavy-handed, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And what's coming up, Dave? You busy with your band at all? I know you've created a band. The last
we've got
12 months?
Band called the Swamp Owls. We've had a bit of fun. Yep. There's not so many venues to play, but it's going good. We've got Georgia McKinnell on drums, and she's great. She's younger than us, which is really nice, actually.
Yeah.
And then Edwina Blush is a vocalist, and she's such a natural performer and an entertainer, apart from a good singer. Yeah. And of course, Michael Lawarne on bass, who I played back on the day, is just he's just a great player and is really the musical director.
Okay.
I would say.
Yeah.
Because he's had all the experience, so he gives me a few tips, which is good. Yeah. I mean, he can play guitar better than me, but I'm playing it, so he's got to put up with it.
Settle down.
He's playing bass.
Yeah.
So it's been great. So we're actually playing at Riverbend at St Helens. So so that'll be fun. We've decided to go with the same acts that we had this year at Launceston. Unfortunately, the Raccoon Dogs couldn't do it, which is a shame because they're a great band.
A good unit, yeah.
So we've got Richard Steele playing, who you've played with, so he'll be great, and more traditional blues.
Yep.
So we think we've covered a fair wide range with the lineup, with Port Wine playing with Molly as well. So that should be good. So we've played at the Kindred Hall a few times. And played it live at the Wharf 3 times, the Royal Oak and stuff. So we would like to branch out a bit more. I need you to put a word in for me.
Yeah, we'll see how I go.
No. So it's always fun, isn't it?
As long as it's fun. I think that's the main key, and it's easy to forget that sometimes when things don't quite go to plan. Like maybe you've got a bad night and you're just sort of struggling through it. I think it's nice to remember that we're all doing this for a bit of fun.
Exactly.
Make a bit of cash, perhaps just to pay for some new strings or a new guitar or something.
And some of those gigs where things go wrong are great gigs to remember. You never forget them. I remember when it was quite some time ago, I was in a band called Black and Blues, and we got asked to play a gig for the Scottsdale Football Club at out the beach at Tomahawk or somewhere out that way. So Danny Hall is married to my cousin, a great legend for Scottsdale. So he said, we'll be right. Well, I said, we need a good generator for the band. So it was right on the beach.
Yeah.
So anyway, we drive onto the beach and I see this great big trailer generator there. And I thought, beauty. I said to Danny, thanks, you got a good generator. And he said, no, that's not for yours. He said, that's for the beer. So I thought, no, yours is in the trees there. It was a little Honda generator in the tree,
Oh, God.
I thought, how's that going to work? We had a few lights and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, we started playing. It was sounding pretty good on the beach. And next thing you know, everything started squealing. And and it shut down.
Yeah.
And the generator ran out of fuel. And
Right.
so Danny comes along and says, "Oh, sorry, David, I forgot to fill the generator up." So and your things like that, remember, I know the tide came up right next to the little tent we had in us, and they just cut bits of conveyor belt for us to stand on.
Right, yep.
And he said the tide will come up about here, and the bass player is on that side. So and unfortunately he didn't have any conveyor belt to lay on. And once he'd had a couple of drinks, it was very hard for him to keep his footing. So he tended to fall over towards the ocean. So it was okay if he played a song in E, he could just play with one hand and sort of keep his balance. So, but we remember we got home after that gig and we thought that won't happen again. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Took us a week to clean the sand out.
I was going to say, you had sand everywhere.
Sand in the power amps.
The bass player should have just put like a line off the end of his bass and like you went fishing.
Could have went
while he
fishing.
was there.
So you really do remember those gigs. It was a good gig.
That's great.
Yeah, but that's one that always stood out, because I thought this generator was massive generator.
Yeah,
just
for the beer.
Just for the beer. So they had their priorities right.
Yep.
So
Pretty tough.
it was a great gig. It was Waterhouse. It was actually. Yeah.
Right.
So I haven't played a gig back there since.
Yeah. That's
I remember when first time I saw you playing was at the Batman Faulkner.
Oh, yeah.
When you was about 16, I think.
Uh-huh.
Might have been for a blues club thing. I'm not sure.
Was it that long, skinny bar at the Batman?
No, it was in the back.
We played there a couple of times.
Okay, and I was in the back room, and your dad was playing, and Phil playing bass, I assume, I think, from memory. So
It could have even been Steve Quinn. We had Steve Quinn on bass for a little while back in.
Oh, okay, Quinny, yeah.
I remember vividly doing a Dave Hull support there in the back room of the Batty.
Yes, I remember. I was there. Yeah. Dave Hull, he's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Did you see him when he came with the Three Kings, was it, or four?
With Shane Pacey and Jeff Atchison. No, I didn't see the show.
Yeah, that was a good show.
Would have been great.
Oh, it was great. Yeah. And Dave was the star of the show. He's sort of just animated in the way he plays. It just sounded great. Oh, that was all great, of course. Jeff was really, really good.
Yeah. It's good to see those guys are still performing, still enjoying, being together on stage.
Yeah, there's something. It's hard for someone to give it up, isn't it?
Yep.
It's just their life.
Especially if they've spent their life doing it.
Exactly.
It's just who they are. A huge part of their personality is the person that's on stage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they just love. They don't mind. They put up with the travelling.
Yeah,
and they just for that kick of playing. Yeah. It's like Tony Joe White. Used to travel, didn't he?
Yeah,
everywhere, and he'd just get up and play,
something about that live buzz, that energy that is created, whether it's nerves or just the excitement from the people in the audience. Yeah, there's something about it that you just can't get anywhere else.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, it's just sometimes if I haven't played a gig for a while and you might be not particularly down the dumps, but you play a gig and you think, oh, that's what I was missing.
Yeah.
Just sort of all of a sudden you feel alive again. So it's nice to do a few gigs.
Oh, certainly is. And, thanks for providing a space to do that as well with the events you're putting on. So hopefully they get well looked after in terms of crowds and good vibes and stuff like that.
It's nice if people can get tickets early. Tasmanians don't probably particularly buy tickets early, which you can understand why. But it sort of gives you an idea of how it's going if you can. You don't have to panic so much.
As
before
a promoter and a person on the bill, it's always nice to know you're not going to have to sell an instrument after the gig.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't have to sell instruments. No, we've got to keep as many as we can.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. All right, Dave. Well, thanks very much for the chat today.
No worries, Pete. Thank you.
Appreciate your time, and look forward to these Riverbend Blues shows.
Yep. Thanks, mate.
Cheers.
See ya. Bye.
Thanks for listening, folks, to another episode of Say It With Guitars. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast, share it around to your mates, leave a good review, and hopefully we'll see you next time.